There's a lot of sound in the background. So my speaker here that we've got, I could not hear you. So I'm going to ask you maybe to try one more time. We just did a little switch up here. This might work.
Why are NDP press conferences always like this? Jagmeet Singh was challenged on the rise of crime as a result of the failed NDP and Liberal policies that Pierre highlighted in his most recent press conference. He accused Pierre of playing politics with people's lives. Yeah, Jagmeet actually said that.
Let's take a look.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking our questions. Appreciate it. And Jagmeet, I want to take you, you're sort of near the bottom of Yonge Street, all the way back up Yonge Street to where you were earlier this week in Northern Ontario. Could I get your sense of the challenge you and other parties are facing with this radically redrawn electoral map? Ridings ripped up, Indigenous communities not sure where they're going, et cetera. You were up there, I understand, rebuilding relationships with Indigenous communities, union groups. I understand you're, 5,000 feet underground in a mine. Give me your sense, what's the challenge for parties like yours with this radically redrawn electoral map in the North?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, so it is really difficult in the North particularly. There's already massive ridings. We're talking ridings that are thousands and thousands of square kilometers. So we got massive ridings already. And the new riding distribution has made them even bigger. So the riding I was just visiting, Timmins James A, which will change its name, but that riding has gained a massive amount of more territory to cover. And so it is a challenge, but it's an important one. We've got to make sure we reach out to people. So we spent time speaking with Indigenous communities. I met with 3 different municipalities and the mayors of each of those municipalities to hear from them on the ground, met with community groups that are dealing with things like housing and homelessness. So for me, it's really important to have a genuine relationship. When I go to a community, I want to hear from the people on the ground that are working at the problems that the community is faced with. And I want to hear from them on their challenges and the struggles so I can come up with some genuine solutions. And so that was the important work we did. We did go down a mine, and one of the folks that were working at the mine mentioned that we were down almost 6,000 feet and said it was the equivalent of like 4 or 5 CN towers deep into the earth. So we've got a really robust mining industry in this country, and it's important for leaders to see what that's like. So I was able to go underground. I've met with mining community members, workers, and businesses in the past, but this is my first time going underground. So it's a pretty incredible experience. But again, this is a part of my job. This summer, I spent the time meeting with people, hearing them, so that we can come up with real solutions for their problems.
Except that under his partnership, we haven't had a single mine built in Canada. But, you know, I love it. Oh, it's the first time I've been underground. Dude, it's probably the first time you've gotten dirty. Like, let's be real here. You wear Armani suits and like $10,000 Rolexes. Let's be real.
And the other thing I found amusing was Jagmeet was talking about the challenges faced up north in terms of the riding boundary change.
Yeah, I bet there is.
Well, he forgot to mention the challenge that this riding boundary change favors the Conservatives.
Everywhere. Almost everywhere, yeah. There's like one riding where it doesn't favor the Conservatives. I think that's out in BC. But almost everywhere else it favors the Conservatives. Which is why you have like all these MPs saying, "Yeah, I've decided that I've had enough of politics in my life. I'm gonna step down and not run in the next election, but I'll just continue on to the end, get my paycheck and collect my pension. Thank you very much."
There was another Liberal today that announced that he's stepping down at the end of the term.
Yeah, Francis Drouin, and it was interesting what he said. He didn't bow out gracefully. He said, "My party is going to have a hard time in the next election. That's for sure." An honest Liberal. Imagine that.
How about that?
But yeah, I think it's interesting. There was a lot to unpack there in what Jagmeet said. Sounded pretty boring, but there was a lot of depth there. No pun intended.
And thinking of the politics of this region of the country, I'll put it to you, this is unlike a lot of other parts of Ontario. This is real blue orange switcher territory from Kenora right through to Charlie's Riding and Timmins. You're going to be, I think, mostly trying to make sure liberals are not going to the conservative side. Poilievre's going to be up in that part of the world next week. What were you saying to mayors, voters in Northern Ontario to make sure they come to the orange team and they don't go to the blue team?
Well, one of the things that was pointed out to me was that Poilievre had been up in that community a number of times, maybe 4 or 5 times. And in my one visit, I spent more time than he had spent in his 4 visits there, just to give you a sense of the lack of genuine interaction for Pierre Poilievre and how I take it seriously meet with people when I went. So that was one contrast. The other thing that I heard from people, and they were really worried, was that they need investments in their communities. They need investments in affordable housing. And they're worried that what conservatives propose and what Pierre Poilievre is proposing is to cut those investments. I remember speaking with one of the leaders in the municipal level. He said, what we've heard from developers is without government investment, they're going to build market homes. The market homes are just too expensive, even for people with good jobs. And I met with people who've got great jobs in the mine. But the cost for a market home is just way too high. And builders, that's what they're going to build. Market homes, luxury condos, that's what they build. And they can't be expected to build affordable unless there's real investment. And so they're worried that conservatives, what they're proposing is going to make it even harder. A lot of these communities need investments in infrastructure. A lot of the infrastructure is aging. We saw the impacts of the climate crisis here in Toronto and across this country. We need infrastructure that's ready for not just the new infrastructure we need to keep up with the times, but also with the extreme weather that we're going through, we need an infrastructure that can deal with that extreme weather. So they're worried about the cuts to infrastructure. Healthcare is already a struggle in the north, and they're worried that conservatives want to cut healthcare. And we know that Pierre Poilievre wants to cut healthcare. He wants to have the last federal minister of health. And already that's a big challenge. We know it's a challenge here in Toronto. The healthcare system was starved by Doug Ford, and a federal government that cuts even further is going to mean two things that people try.
Why are NDP press conferences always like this in terms of their tech?
It's terrible.
My goodness. And it doesn't help. It looks like Jagmeet should be talking into the mic with the, like, I've heard it called the dead cat, but the large windscreen, the really fluffy one, instead of the one that looks like this, because it looks like it is quite windy today.
Well, and this was kind of like a stunt to put this here. He has all this traffic going behind him, and he even says to one lady, who's trying to ask a question over Zoom, like, oh, sorry, I can't hear you because we have a lot of traffic here. Well, you're the idiot that decided to have the press conference in front of a busy street, in front of Loblaws.
Right.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Well, and then just to go based on what he was saying, where he was saying, oh, well, I got more done in one visit than Pierre Poilievre did in 4 or 5. Pierre's going to be up north in Northern Ontario next week, I think it is. Check the website, conservative.ca/events. He's doing a bunch of rallies. If any of you go to those rallies, please let us know how they are, because I am very curious to see how many people show up. My guess is it's going to be a lot. So I don't think Jagmeet can make that claim.
Well, here's the other thing. Pierre has more places to visit than you, Jagmeet, because Pierre has more places that realistically will actually vote conservative. Look at the polls. There's very few places for you to go in Canada that you're going to make any sort of impact, because anywhere you do have a press conference, we've seen that there's maybe a dozen people. Like, we don't see or hear of NDP rallies.
No, I don't think they do them. They probably do like cash for access.
Well, because the only people that would show up are in the party.
Yeah. I mean, okay, even their convention was like, what, 1,200 people total the whole weekend? And that was here in Hamilton.
I don't even know if it was that much. So
yeah, like if you go back and look at last year's footage of their convention, the hall is like half empty.
Yeah. 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 And then, you contrast that to any of Pierre's rallies, it is standing room and people waiting outside. And
the rally that we went to last year in St. Catharines, it was in the middle of July, and it was supposed to be in Thorold, and we found out the day before that they had moved the venue to St. Catharines because so many people were going to show up that they couldn't hold it in Thorold. The building wasn't big enough.
Yeah, so they had to move it, and there were still people that didn't get in. So Pierre has more places to visit, Jagmeet, so unfortunately he can't spend the same amount of time that you can, because you're still shooting to maintain those 25 seats. But yeah, right now you're aiming for minivan status. So something tells me after the next convention, you're not going to be leader.
Thanks so much for taking my questions. My first question is for the leader. Today, conservative leader Pierre Poilievre essentially pointed to the recent killing of London, Ontario teen Brianna Broadfoot to what he says is the failure of Liberal and NDP policies. He's also blaming the rise in crime to Liberal NDP policies. I guess just, what's your response to that?
Sorry, we have a great location for the press conference, but there's a lot of sound in the background. So my speaker here that we've got, I could not hear you. So I'm going to ask you maybe to try one more time. We just did a little switch up here. This might work.
So then it's not a great location, is it? And somebody keeps bumping the camera?
Yeah.
Like,
it's a joke.
oh my gosh.
This is just a
Okay,
joke.
you and I have zero training in videography or sound or anything, and we manage better.
We have OTJ, on the job
Yeah.
training. And yeah, I think we have better setups than he does.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's way better.
Okay. Today, Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader, he said the recent killing of a London, Ontario teen, Brianna Broadfoot, shows that the Liberal and NDP policies are failing. And he is also blaming the rise in crime to the failure of Liberal NDP policies. I just wanted to know what your response to those accusations are.
Well, first of all, when we're talking about the opioid crisis, it is heartbreaking that we are losing so many Canadians to that crisis. It is heartbreaking because these are our neighbors, these are children, these are sons and daughters. So we're losing so many lives. And what I believe, what we need to do is, first of all, we got to save lives. We got to do whatever we can to ensure that people aren't dying. We got to save lives. Secondly, we got to make sure people get the help that they need. And finally, we got to do everything possible to get the toxic garbage, the toxic drugs off our streets. That's what I'm focused on. What I've heard from Pierre Poilievre is a lot of playing politics with people's lives, making not actually focused on solutions to save people's lives, not focused on getting people the help they need, and not focusing on border, which the Conservatives had massive cuts in staffing, so that we're up against a very leaky border where there are dangerous items coming into our country because of the cuts the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre brought in.
He knows that Pierre Poilievre wasn't the minister of, what is it? Not procurement. The border guy.
Public
CBSA.
safety.
Yeah, public safety. That's it. He wasn't Mendocino.
No.
He wasn't the prime minister.
But it was Pierre's responsibility.
Yeah, it was Pierre's fault, though, because he was housing minister and then shadow finance minister.
Well, and here's the other thing. So Conservatives, historically, they're not all great governments, but they tend to be evidence-based. The real evidence. And they didn't need Border Patrol people at that point, so they reduced the spend on it.
Right,
And
because if we look at our graph that we have, crime went down under the Conservatives.
Massively.
A lot. And that includes drug crimes.
The one part that I just find reprehensible is when Jagmeet says Pierre is playing politics with people's lives.
Well, and Jagmeet lays out his philosophy for all of us to see. The most important thing is saving people's lives, and then treatment, and then the toxic drug supply. In that order, he says them. And that's what I was talking about in our video with Pierre, where these people say, it's more important to save lives, so we'll give them narcotics that are pure instead of getting people into treatment.
Well, and here's the issue. If you spend all of your money on giving them drugs, then you don't have any money for treatment.
Well, and what's the incentive to go into treatment? You often hear that people need to hit rock bottom before they do. So if people are being given a constant, steady supply of chemically pure narcotics, like what's the incentive to stop that?
Well, and you're also giving them a free means to trade, right? Because they're taking that, they're selling it, getting money. Now they can go buy the more expensive stuff.
Or harder stuff.
So you're actually enabling them to be able to get the quote unquote toxic drug supply easier. This is what you're doing. And then by way of doing that, this is how it gets into the hand of kids, because kids may not otherwise try it. But you have these people that are just trying to get that next hit, trying to get, a better high because the hydromorphone isn't doing it for them anymore. So they give it to kids, get some money, and then they go and buy the better stuff. And you're saying that Pierre is playing politics with people's lives. Look at what you've done to BC with the NDP government. Yes, it's not your party, but you've been the one supporting all of those policies over there. Look at what you've done to that province. It is a disaster.
Look what's happened to the city of Hamilton under former NDP leader Andrea Horwath.
And look what's now happening to London. Like, all of these cities are saying, hello, this is not going according to plan. Everything's getting worse. Imagine that. You put more drugs on the street, more people are going to use them, more people are going to OD.
But these politicians and these so-called experts, they're invested. They don't want to hear that their idea is bad, that it's wrong, that it's not working. They just want to keep pushing ahead no matter the cost.
Well, because most of these activists have made a career out of this now. And if they admit they're wrong, then funding gets pulled and their career is over.
That have not allowed for our borders to be as secure as they should be. And so I question the genuine nature of Pierre Poilievre. He's not serious about this. This is for him playing politics. This is for him about dividing people. We're focused on saving lives, getting people the help they need, and getting the toxic garbage off our streets.
Thank you. And then my next question is for Norm. You ran in the last federal election, and you were very close to winning. What's your biggest challenge this time around to ensure that you do take home the win?
Across the city of Toronto, we're really looking at opportunities to show people that New Democrats are a real choice for them. They've been let down. People have been let down by Justin Trudeau. And I think it's important for people to know that. So I'm going to make sure Norm and our team here in Toronto, we let people know Justin Trudeau had the opportunity to solve a lot of the problems that Toronto is faced with, but has let you down. They had the power, but they let you down. And New Democrats have used our power to help you out. And in this next election, they got a choice. Out of touch liberals, Justin Trudeau has let you down and failed you, or conservatives who want to cut and gut the programs that people need. So I think that's out of the question for Torontonians. And then New Democrats who want to invest in solutions. We want to take on corporate greed. We want to build homes that people can actually afford. We want the housing market that works for people, not for rich developers, not for rich investors. And I'm very confident that this is something that Canadians need. This is something that Torontonians need. And with excellent candidates like Norm Di Pasquale in this riding, and with our great candidates across the city, we can show a real option for people that want some hope. That's what I want to give. I want to give hope to people, and we can do that.
Oh my goodness.
If only you would give the mic to your candidate who the question was directed to.
Do you know, I don't know if it was that they couldn't hear, which is a problem in and of itself. Why would you hold a press conference that close to the road on a very busy Toronto street?
It's so embarrassing.
Or if Jagmeet didn't want him to answer, or maybe he just was kind of like in the zone and didn't realize that it was for Norm. Like, I have no idea what happened there, but it just looks so bad.
Well, and Norm was about to lean in and answer, and Jagmeet started talking, so he was like, okay.
Crap, what do I do? Yeah.
He's technically the leader, so I can't do anything. So I'll just sit here and smile and hope that he answers my question well.
So bad. Like, how do they pick these locations? Hey, you know what would be a really awesome location for our podcast? Is like a really super busy street. You know, let's just do it on the link.
No, you know
right?
what? We're gonna do our next one at a monster truck rally.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be a
That's
good
even
one.
better.
Hey, Norm, yeah, Norm's gonna jump in. What are you gonna do to win in this riding?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, even back in 2021, I was banging the drum of affordable housing. It was a crisis then. It is an even bigger crisis now with liberal and conservative inaction over the past 4 years.
Liberal and conservative in action, but the NDP are supporting the liberals. Like,
You're talking like it's the liberals and the conservatives that are in the supply and confidence agreement.
right. Like, how do they square that up? Like,
This is like
It's just
straight
so
up gaslighting
ridiculous.
people, straight up gaslighting. And they wonder why their polls are falling through the floor. Oh, it's not us. We've used our power to help you. Yeah, but you've kept the liberals in power. But you know, we forced them to do things. Well, why didn't you force them to do affordable housing? Well, we forced them to do other things that you don't need.
but free dental care.
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 Free dental care. Free dental care.
Free dental care. Free dental care.
Check out our video on that and you'll find out how free it really is.
It's not a free program.